Hello, and you're all very welcome along to another episode of the Gaelic Statsman Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Hurley, and I'm joined today by Jason Keelan for the Loaf of Bread Podcast to discuss this weekend's All-Ireland Club Senior Football Championship semi-finals. But first of all, Happy New Year to anybody for watching the show. A Happy Christmas as well. Happy belated Christmas to anybody watching the show as well. Hopefully you enjoyed the festivities, each and every one of you. And before we get started as well, a shout out to our sponsors at Mhuircheartaigh. If you want the best gear around, check them out if you haven't already. So yeah, Jason, new year, new podcast, new season, well, it's the same club season. We're still in that. That won't be done until later on in the month. But yeah, some interesting games to look forward to this weekend and an interesting year in 2025, I'm sure.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well, Matt. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, of course, the talking point obviously been the new rules and how things are going to pan out over the coming weeks and months, and the fact they're not in Sigerson but in county level and that kind of thing. But yeah, definitely going to be an interesting weekend to start off the year. Again, I'm still on the fence about whether I like the fact that this all ends before Paddy's Day, but such is the way. But yeah, certainly two big semi-finals to look forward to, and yeah, hopefully a big season ahead for the counties and clubs in 2025.
Exactly. So yeah, and before we get started in this club preview, we'll have a look at the week of Gaelic games. And if you haven't noticed, lads, my throat is absolutely killing me. I had a bit of a sickness over the holiday season, so please bear with me. And I think the cold is going around, so that's pretty normal for everybody. But we'll start with the week of Gaelic games and with the end of year awards first. Now, this is a yearly thing on my account that we do for the year's end, and we'll go through some of the winners. So first of all, we'll go through moments of the year. The winner of that was Cork and Limerick's Drive for Five for the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship. Obviously, Cork didn't win it in the end. Clare won it, the All-Ireland, in the end of 2024. But yeah, Jason, there was a bit of a controversial kind of a verve on my account over the last few days, considering the biased voting and things like that. I kind of had to switch it up a small bit and things like that. Some Cork fans weren't happy, but then it kind of made the non-Cork fans happy and stuff like that. But this still one moment of the year. But what are your thoughts on this moment winning it overall in 2024?
Yeah, I suppose I'll join the sore throat party as well. I was commentating on an All-Ireland Camogie final there a couple of weeks ago, and it was the scratchiest, squeakiest stream, I'd say, in the history of commentating, but it survived anyway. Yeah, the moments of the year you had, I thought were great. About 16 of them or so, if I remember seeing the TikTok and stuff and social media, and a great mix as well. I think you had Louise in there as well, and a couple of other bits. I remember Tony Kelly. I know you had people in the comments saying, what about this, and this? But if you were to do that, sure, your list would be as long as your arm, and you'd never narrow it down. So I think you did a good job with the moments anyway, from what I remember. There's very few people, I'd say, who didn't enjoy the stop for five, really, because it's like in any sport, when a team gets so strong and so good and is consistently winning, the joy kind of comes in some ways when they're eventually beaten, and then you can applaud what they've done and look back on it, and but in 2025 I'm sure they'll be thereabouts again. But certainly a cracking choice for moment of the year, I would say. I'm sure there was no bias as well, which you've been from Cork. I'm sure there's no bias whatsoever in that, but yeah, no, definitely it was a good vote for a moment of the year, definitely in my eyes anyway.
Yeah, most definitely. It was a brilliant moment for not just Cork, but just the whole championship overall. And no disrespect to Limerick, obviously Limerick were an outstanding team, but just for the Cork team to beat not just once this year, but twice in the championship was absolutely incredible, and it definitely deserves a shout, no doubt about it. We'll go on to scores as well for 2024. So the football goal of the year vote on my page, there's no bias this, thank God, was Owen McAvoy versus Dublin in the National Football League Division 1 final back in April, which was a cracking goal. Obviously, I can't show it because of licence restrictions and all that, but it was a brilliant goal. He ran straight down the heart of the Dublin defence before burying it. By hitting the crossbar, going into the back of the net. So brilliant goal from Owen McAvoy there. The hurling goal of the year was Tony Kelly versus Cork in the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship final. And worth noting, actually the voted goal was Rob Downey's in the same game, but considering the biases of the voting and things like that, kind of had to change. And Tony Kelly's goal, you cannot argue with this. This was an absolutely outstanding goal and one of the goals of GA history, never mind 2024. So it had to be voted for that. The football point of the year was Rian O'Neill's against Kerry, the long ranger from outside the 45-metre line. An absolutely incredible score to take the game to extra time, which Armagh won in the end. And hurling point of the year given was Rob Downey's against Limerick in the All-Ireland semi-final, where he ran down the heart of the Limerick defence while soling it without catching the ball, then into the 45 and then banged it over the bar. So brilliant score by Rob Downey there. Any qualms about those scores, Jason?
No. Rob Downey's goal, though, is something special. Like, if we see a better goal in Croke Park in the next number of years, if it ended out to that, I think we'd be all up on our feet applauding. Now, to be fair, Tony Kelly's obviously was class as well. And because Rob got the point of the year as well, I suppose it would have been quite a unique feat for a man at half-back to get the point and the goal of the year. No qualms about any of them. And I'm trying to remember some of your lists, the 15 or 16 on each one. But again, a great mix. There were a few scores in the camogie, a few scores in the ladies' football as well, a few of the hurling scores. Peter Casey's dummy score, I think that was on the list as well, which is one that I quite liked as well. I don't know what it was about it. It was just something, it stuck in my head for some reason. But no qualms about any of those. Being at the All-Ireland final and Rian O'Neill's points, big moment for a big player, and it really showed that he can do it on the big day as well. So no, I think all good choices, all the options, all the lists I thought were great, and I think he got it pretty spot on, to be fair, as usual. So yeah, definitely.
Hopefully, I didn't upset anybody by changing the vote on one of the things I have. But look, we'll move swiftly on, and we'll move on to the games of the year. The football game of the year voted by the viewers was Armagh against Kerry, the All-Ireland football semi-final. Would I have gone for this? Probably not. To be honest with you, I probably would have gone Derry Dublin or Leitrim and Tyrone in the LGFA intermediate final. I probably wouldn't have gone for this game, but it was a very good end to the game. Obviously, Armagh won an extra time. It was dramatic. Was it the best game overall? Probably not, but it got voted football game of the year for 2024. The hurling game of the year was Clare against Cork, obviously, in the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship final. And 329 to 134 game in the All-Ireland final. Cork and Limerick in the Munster Championship was up there as well. So was the All-Ireland game in the semi-final. But this was the deserving winner, no doubt about that. Any thoughts on those winners?
The football one wouldn't have been my choice, like you said, in terms of games. There were many other cracking games, I suppose, during the year. The hurling one, I thought the minor hurling final was unreal as well. And I'm pretty sure you had that in the list somewhere as well. But the hurling one, geez, you can't argue. Like, what a ridiculous game of hurling. For anyone who was, I know, around the world who was maybe watching the sport for the first time, like, you'd be taken in completely by it. Football, been at the football, the atmosphere was brilliant, I have to say. Even if the football wasn't brilliant at the best of times, kind of summed up the season in some ways that, it had its moments, but it wasn't a standout kind of game overall, even if it was close. But no, certainly, and look, to be fair, football games, there were a lot of very, very good games. There mightn't have been one, that everyone had jumped to. But in the hurling, you couldn't argue with the final. Geez, like, what a showpiece for hurling and for our game as well. Good choices, to be fair. I probably wouldn't have gone with that one for the football, but it wasn't a great year generally for football, so hurling stood out by a mile.
Coincidentally, the hurling one actually voted was Cork and Limerick Munster Championship game, but because of the biases, again, I had to go with the Clare and Cork one simply because it was the best hurling game that we've ever watched. The football game, coincidentally, was voted by the public and it changes, and again, I wouldn't have probably gone with that. I think the game overall wasn't great, Armagh and Kerry. I think I was actually shocked, and maybe that's because of people don't know ladies football more than men's football, but Leitrim and Tyrone
brilliant.
Got knocked out in the first round.
Yeah, absolutely, what a game.
Incredible. It was brilliant. The organised chaos.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way Gaelic football should be played.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And the ladies' football tends to throw up a lot of more attacking encounters than the men's game does. It hasn't really, not fully anyway, got hold of the sweeper system and defensive stuff. Now, you're seeing it more and more in in club games. I am anyway, definitely. You probably are as well. But organised chaos, great way to describe it. Yeah, absolute carnage of a game, but a great advertisement for how the game could be played, and see how these new rules have taken help with it all. So
exactly. So we move on to the teams and shocks of the year. So the team of the year overall was the Armagh footballers after winning Sam Maguire this year for the first time in 20 years. The shock team of the year was the Sarsfield Hurlers in Cork after winning the Munster Senior Hurling Championship over Ballygunner and getting to the All-Ireland final, which will compete on later on this month against the FINA. The club of the year was Lockmore Castleknock for Tipperary. This is a deserving winner. They won the Tipperary Championship in both codes, football and hurling, with the same group of players. Absolutely incredible and definitely deserved that award. And the shock of the year was Cork ending Limerick's drive for fight. That was the moment of the year. It was also voted the shock of the year as well. And considering Limerick were on route to going 5 in a row, this was a big shock, no doubt about it. But yeah, what are your thoughts on those 4 awards?
Yeah, probably same kind of thing. Lockmore Castleknock definitely deserving of an award. It was such a pity that the challenge ended so kind of abruptly in the Munster final, that they were swept aside so easily. But fatigue, I would say, and the fact that it wasn't the majority of that team over 30, I think, as well. So factors in that, of course, if you're double jobbing, dual coding as well. And then Sarsfields, definitely worth a shout. It's great for us, I suppose. Castletown Gagan here getting so far in Leinster. We really, completely side note, but we really feel so close yet so far type thing here in Westmeath, because Lomond should have got to the football Leinster final. Castletown Gagan should have got to the hurling final. So we really feel like the ball was dropped a little bit on our side here, but you have 4 definitely deserving winners as well. Lockmore Castleknock definitely were the team who made the headlines the most, and great to watch them as well. And they were written off as a bunch of outlads, so many times, and couldn't do it, but they did. And probably age got the better of them, I'd say, at the end, having to do so much for so long in 2 codes. But good choices all around, definitely.
And coincidentally as well, out of them 4 awards, the only one I had to change because of biases was the Lockmore Castleknock one. They didn't actually win the vote. It was actually Sarsfields and Cork that won the vote. But I was like, you have to change that. Lockmore Castleknock deserved an award this year, as you mentioned there, because of their 8th profile number 1, and they're doing it in both codes number 2 and number 3, the same group of players. Like, to do it in both codes is absolutely exceptional, and it has to deserve an award, no doubt about it. So definitely 4 deserving winners there. And the final awards given out were Performance of the Year was Tony Kelly, the individual performance against Cork, the All-Ireland final. No qualms about this. Unbelievable display of hurling for Tony Kelly. The Controversy of the Year, the under-20 Munster final goal not given. You could clearly see the slitter touching the top of the net there. The goal wasn't given in the Cork and Tipperary Munster hurling final. The funniest moment of the year, the own point scored in the Munster Intermediate Hurling Championship semi-final. It was brilliant, wasn't it? Just the reaction of the goalkeeper. I remember that, Jason. That was just incredible. Overall, brilliant moment. He was
so delighted as well to have won the throw and seen the space open up and fired over. Like, it was so instinctive. And then to realise after, it's one of those amazing moments. There was an own point in the football during the year at some stage as well. Anyway, I think I remember there was one definitely in the 3rd level games as well. And then what were we before that? The shock, absolutely. The controversy, that was really poor officiating from the umpires not to see that. Like, it's quite clear that the ball touched the net, therefore the net obviously moved. Like, I don't know what it was, just bad position or something, but like a real disappointing moment if you're an official, and particularly when you're trying to get respect, for officials and stuff, when you can allow human error and stuff, but geez, that was as clear as day. Like, I don't know how they missed it, but the own point was definitely my favourite moment of the last few months for sure. Definitely a highlight.
Definitely was. And look at the other two award winners was quote of the year, obviously.
Yeah.
Poignantly to be Oliver Hurtig. It's up to God, the referee though. The referee is Pat Orr, God is God. It wasn't necessarily for this season, but what a quote from the great late Oliver Hurtig, and obviously be rest in peace, no doubt about it. And Song of the Year, G Stanford Geezer by plenty in the tank. Absolutely deserving winner there. I don't think there's any qualms about that. But you have some decent winners there, especially be Oliver Hurtig there for quote of the year. Poignant moment.
Yeah, definitely. Such an icon of the games. One disappointment I had in life is that I never actually got to sit down and talk to him. I would have loved to have. I've met him a couple of times, sort of briefly, but I would love to have sat down and just listened to the history and the talk and everything that he had. But yeah, a huge loss to the games as well. In the funny moments as well, I remember wasn't the seagull one of your funny moments as well?
That was in the final against the Owen Point.
The seagull was. I remember putting up because I was kind of right at the stand area where that seagull came on originally, and I remember seeing it, and I was like, this lad is actually more entertaining than the football, and sticking it up on Twitter, and then getting plenty of replies to it and stuff. The seagull was brilliant. And yeah, it was just, I'm trying to, there was a few of the funny moments that I had forgotten completely until you put them up. And I kind of laughed to myself at some of them. Who was it said that she'd go bungee jumping?
Oh, that was Hannah Looney.
Yeah, there was some cracking ones, like some great stuff. Great stuff on the list. That was my favorite list out of them all because I'd forgotten so many of them. It was brilliant to hear them all again and read them all again. So, but yeah, great choices all around as usual. Great awards at the end of the year. Good choices generally.
And hopefully everybody was happy with the winners and stuff like that. I tried to keep it unbiased as possible with the eventual winners and things like that. I had to change a few things, but ultimately, hopefully that was good award winners for the end of the season. There's no doubt about that. Just before we get into the games, there was a retirement between Christmas and New Year's. Matthew Hanlon from Wexford, he retired at the age of 33. He won the Leinster title, obviously, in 2019, and he was on the Wexford panel since 2011. And he also won a Railway Cup with Leinster in 2014. An excellent centre-back, full-back, or defender in general, Matthew Hanlon. And with him gone and Dermot O'Keefe gone from Wexford now, that's two big losses going into the new year.
Good, yeah. The more players that disappear out of Leinster, the more the more even it might become for some of us who are not quite there yet. Matthew Hanlon, an absolute warrior of the game. Poor Johnny Smacks will be devastated. His hero has retired as well. So, phenomenal hurler, beast of a man as well. What is it? Won a Railway Cup and a Leinster title. It's probably not. It's not a lot to show really for such a long 13, 14-year career, but such is the way in Leinster hurling. Really, that's he's probably fortunate to have won anything. Really, there's a lot of lads who leave Leinster and have won nothing really. So, a loss to them. But as I said, quite happy in Westmeath for teams to start losing some big names because we need some help somewhere.
Exactly. So, just before we get into the games as well, Louise Mhuircheartaigh retired just before Christmas as well. I didn't get the chance to discuss on the podcast. Legendary player, obviously an ideal end to a great career, winning the Brendan Martin Cup, winning the All-Ireland title. She's a ladies footballer that we'll never forget, an outstanding player. She will be a loss to Kerry next season, but what a player.
Unbelievable, yeah. And will be a loss to Kerry because there's no ready-made replacement. It's very hard to replace the greats anyway, but there's definitely no ready-made replacement for her, not just in scoring, but physicality as well, and the fact she's pacey and solos the ball quick, and she kind of has a bit of everything, and it was fitting that she got the title that she deserved, and she goes out when she wants to go out and goes out in a high. So I'd be surprised if someone from Australia doesn't come knocking, looking for her even for a season or two. I don't know if someone already has, but since everyone else is going, she'd be an ideal player to have out there just even for a season or two. But yeah, great player. Only saw her I think twice live, I think up close, once in Croke Park, and and she's just at the best of times unmarkable, really. So, yeah, delighted for her. Sad to see her go, though. Would prefer if she wasn't gone, really.
Yeah, exactly. And it should open the latest football championship next season. There's no doubt about that. And the inter-county season will be starting in the next few weeks, and we will talk about that more in detail when it does happen. But the club season is still going on, and there is 2 All-Ireland Senior Football Championship club semi-finals this weekend to look at. First of all, chronologically, it is Cuala from Dublin against Coolera Strandhill from Sligo on Sunday at 1:30 on TG Car. This is live in Kingspan Breffni Park in Cavan. You would say on the outside, Jason, that Cuala are clear favourites for this one, but Coolera have proved they've beaten Ballina, they've beaten Padraig Pearses and Connacht. Is there one more shock up their sleeve?
You'd like to think so, maybe it's maybe a bit of an unfair anti-Dublin thing, but it'd just be nice to see someone totally different coming through. And I know Cuala but the history of Dublin, like it's 10 or 11 different winners. I think someone had recently upped that from Dublin. You wouldn't expect many Sligo teams to be contesting for an All-Ireland. They had such a long wait. It was nearly a century, I think, between Title 1 and Title 2, and then to win back-to-back. They've good footballers. To beat Pearses was big. But I don't know. I think Cuala just might have the edge on this one. Coolera have a strong half-back line as well, which excuse me, which will help for sure. But I think Cuala will win.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to see how Coolera win, and even look at their scores and stuff like that. The post and those will be coming up later on. I have Coola's all done completely. Conor scored 5 goals at 41 points in the championship so far from Dublin up until the Leinster Championship. Luke Keating has scored 2 goals and 22 points. Niall O'Callaghan with 2 goals and 21. They're their 3 highest scorers. Coolera, I haven't done 3 in our games because there doesn't seem to be any reports. I'll try my best to get those reports if I can. But look at the scores early on. That this is a list in progress now. From what I've gathered so far, Niall Murphy has scored 1 goal and 29 points. The next top scorer for Coolera is Ross Doherty with 1 goal and 2 points, which shows you they are really, really reliant on a brilliant player, obviously, in Niall Murphy, an outstanding player for Sligo and Coolera Strandhill. But is the over-reliance on him going to be too much to handle on Sunday?
Probably. There's a... Sorry, the voice is gone.
Yeah, but what I was saying anyway about Niall Murphy, and look at the 129 that I have so far. He scored 111 from play, and that's even more. That's Ross Doherty scored 1-2 from play. I'm calculating now. That's 9 points more than Ross Doherty from play as well. Like that is a serious bridge to gap in many ways. Like even Kevin Banks, who was really good in the Connacht final, has only scored 4 points as far as my calculations go so far. Peter Laffey's a good player, but he's only scored 3 points as far as my calculations go. Like they have done really well to get to this stage, Coolera, but maybe the over-reliance on key players could catch up with them on Sunday when you look at the talent that Cuala have with the likes of O'Callaghan and Luke Keating.
Yeah, sorry, the voice is kind of disappearing here and there. It's not working as well. Yeah, I think Padraig Pearse's game, I think it was, I've forgotten his name now, Higgins, who came off the bench, I think was like their next top scorer or something like that, with 3 points, which is...
Adam Higgins, yeah.
Yeah, which is not ideal. And as you said, the gap between Murphy and the rest is huge. And it's a over-reliance on one man. Like Coola's defense is quite strong. So I'd expect that if you can take Murphy out, that the game will be a Cuala victory. I can't see anything else really apart from a Cuala win really in that case. A good half-back line that can score. I think they got 3 or 4 in the game against Pearse as well, but Cuala will definitely have too much for them.
And even look at their scores in the championship so far. Coolera, they beat Calgary St. Joseph's 4-15 to 6 points in the Sligo championship. But other than that, their highest score in a game was against Patrick Pearse's after extra time in the Connacht final, 115 to 114. When they scored 9 points against Ballinasloe Stephenites, they scored 8 and 9 points against St. Malaise Gaels in the Sligo finals. One of them was a draw, and one of them was the replay. They only scored 10 points in the Sligo semi-final against St. Mary's, 10 points against Shamrock Gales in the Sligo championship as well earlier on in the campaign. So it tends to show that Coolera, they are battle-hardened, but they don't seem to score enough, which is unfortunate because they love Coolera to pull off the shock against this brilliant Coolera side. But look at stats and everything like that. It doesn't seem like the shot could be coming in a way when you look at the scores on the board so far. The fact they've only scored more than 15 points in the game only twice, and one of them was after extra time, it doesn't really bode well for the Sligo champions, really.
No, and their keeper as well, I think, isn't he one of the men who chips in generally with a free or point every now and then? He's Keelan, isn't he? Keelan
Hart, is it?
Yeah, Keelan Hart, yeah. He chips in as well, obviously, which, you know, if your top scorer is so far ahead and the rest of your team are very far behind, it doesn't make the homework very difficult for the opposition. Now, in saying that, of course, they are in the semi-finals, so there's obviously something working if they can get this far without sort of been noticed. But I think a big thing in Connacht was when Cara Finn went out. I think that kind of opened the door a little bit maybe for the likes of Coolera. I think Pearse would be shockingly disappointed not to be in the position that Coolera are in now. But it's a season, you know, where somebody, you know, knew is going to be in a final, really. Cuala just, I know you said at the start, they just have too much for Coolera on paper. Like Keating, Fitzsimons, O'Coffey, Byrne, like their spine is enough to beat most teams. And if you come through Dublin and you've got this far, you kind of have to expect in some ways that they will be in the final just from the quality of opposition that they'll have faced up to this point, versus Coolera. No disrespect to the Sligo Football Championship, but it's obviously not on par with Dublin and the like. So I'd be expecting a Coolera victory, but you wouldn't know. I'm just trying to think offhand of where Coolera might have the upper hand on them in any way at all, really. And
maybe Heart of Desire.
Maybe, yeah. They've nothing to lose, which tends to suit some teams as well. Certain clubs and certain counties, it really suits when you've literally got nothing to lose. So maybe it'll pay off for them in this case. And that said earlier, like Cuala, I think, got fortunate enough with their opposition in the Leinster final. Like Ardea had that great patch and nearly got back into the game. I haven't watched like the likes of St. Lomans all year. I think St. Lomans were waiting for Leinster final in second gear the whole way through and would have certainly given Cuala, I think, a bit more of a rattle than just a few minutes of a purple patch. But look, it's where we are now at the moment. And yeah, as you said, heart and belief maybe might get Coolera over the line, but in footballing terms, no, I don't think they'll get past Cuala somehow. Won't get past Mick Fitzsimons on his own anyway.
He's been exceptional, Mick Fitzsimons. I think he scored 5 or 6 points overall from play as well. Added on to his tough nature as a full back for Cuala, there's no doubt about it. I think we're both saying Cuala will win the game. But just one final question on this. You mentioned this briefly about Lomans losing to Ardee St. Mary's in the semi-final. Ardee did corresponded to lose by a point in the Leinster final, which they could have easily won in Croke Park. Tullamore only pushed to Cuala to 3 points, and they didn't play probably to their high standards as they have done all season. Like you look at the Dublin Championship, Cuala knocked off nearly everybody except for Kilmacud, Crokes, even Ballymun. They hammered them pretty comprehensively in the semi-final there. But when you look at the teams like Naas, Tullamore, Ardee really putting up to Cuala, would that give you more of a hope as a Coolera, Strandhill or Sligo football fan that you could be, say, this Cuala team, considering the likes of Ardee have put up a real test to Cuala?
Maybe. it's, I suppose, hard to know when, like, comparing like Coolera to the likes of Lomans and them. I don't know, are they the same standard really? I would fancy a St. Lomans team, even though nothing to do with Lomans. They're not my club at all. They might be down the road, but I'm certainly not affiliated with them. But I don't think that they would be too afraid of the likes of Coolera. I think that they would have far too much for them. Based purely on what I've seen of Lomans and what I've seen of Coolera as well. And I think, as I said, a lot of people down home here who went to see Lomans in Leinster as well and saw them the whole way through the championship. The hardest task they had this season was getting past the Downs in a replay in the Westmeath final. After that, done the Meath champions, an absolute walkover. And then they got a little bit stung against RD. They were just missing something. There was a little bit of a lack of leadership near the end as well, when John Hesson really should have stepped up to take that free at the end and didn't really show the leadership that we know from him. So a little bit frustrating in that way. Would Coolera get some belief out of it? Maybe, but belief is one thing. Whether you can actually get it on the field, I don't know. And Coolera, as I said, haven't gone through so many. And if you're to compare position for position, like Coolera on paper should stroll past him, really. I think Charlie McMorrow has been one of the great players of the season for Coolera. Probably doesn't get all the plaudits because obviously O'Callaghan's and etc. take over most of the newspaper headlines. But the only thing, I suppose, when wasn't it Rooney and Callaghan who got the goals, I think, for RD, that quick 60-second kind of patch maybe showed that there is a little bit of a naivety maybe with Coolera. I wouldn't say that it was they just took their eye off the ball literally for a minute or two, but RD certainly put it up to them, which was great for football and great for the semi-final as well. But I don't see Coolera doing the same thing. I think, as I said already, I think it's Coolera by enough, I would say, a comfortable enough victory for an All-Ireland semi-final. I don't think Coolera will. I think the dream might end maybe at this point.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it all transpires on Sunday. I'll probably go for Coolera as well, but hopefully Coolera will give them a game, just so we'll get a good game to start off the year right. And the second All-Ireland semi-final is Errigal Ciaran from Tyrone against Dr. Crokes from Kerry in Portlaoise in County Laois. Is on Sunday at 3:30 on TG Car. We talked about Coolera Strandhill being somewhat of an easy win for Coolera, let's just say. This game, I think, could be a lot tighter.
I would say so, yeah. And if you're neutral looking for the better game, I think this has to be the one, really. And I don't know whether, I think the another factor in it, maybe people looking at this one a little bit more closely, is because Ulster football is generally, I know people rave on about it, it's the saviour of football and all this. There's plenty of times where it's no different to anyone else and just has better dramatic endings maybe than anything else. But certainly Errigal have shown great resilience, great toughness going through Ulster the whole way through it. Crokes, it was a little bit of a saunter in Munster. I know they had the tough game against Cormac, Waterford, isn't it? Yeah, they only won by a point. Lockmore Castleiney was a bit of a one-sided affair. They will, I think, go in as underdogs, Crokes. I think Errigal might be slight favourites again just because of coming out of Ulster. But Crokes are going for the clean sweep, aren't they, of like league and club championship, county, Munster, then All-Ireland. And there's quite a number of stars, I suppose, in that team carry names that will be very familiar to a lot of people as well, which maybe might give them a bit of an edge. But I think Errigal will be the favourites anyway for me for this one. But again, I could be completely wrong, and you might disagree as well.
I think Errigal will go in as definite favourites, but there is elements to Dr. Crokes which we'll talk about a bit. But Errigal Ciaran, I looked at their run to the final and for the Tyrone Championship and the Ulster Championship and all that, And the interesting stat, actually, they've scored 4 goals in the championship, only 2 against Cuala O'Rahilly's, 1 against Kilclough, and 1 against Kilcoo, obviously, the goal by Joe Cole, the Goose, in the Ulster final. But they've conceded 8 goals. They conceded 2 to Pomeroy, 2 to Clonlow, 2 to Kilclough, 1 to Trillick, and 1 to Clonairon. Is that a concern for Errigal, Ciaran, to concede 8 and to score 4? Or am I really too much into that?
No, I don't think you are. Probably not the sturdiest full back line. The 2 Quins and McCrory, I think. Aidan McCrory.
Aidan McCrory, I think it is.
Yeah. So maybe not the sturdiest full back line. Of course, their defence has probably made more headlines for the likes of Peter O'Mccartan's winning point and that kind of thing. So, no, I don't think you're reading too much into it. I think you might maybe have come on to something, I suppose, really, because Crokes have... I don't think Crokes have had much, I suppose, goal-wise, and generally they tend to take most of the headlines. So maybe it's something for Crokes. I'm sure they've obviously done their homework, but whether Tony Brosnan and Burns and O'Shea and the likes can get in for goal is another thing. Maybe Errigal Ciaran will have, had a look at it themselves and might be trying to tighten the ship up a little bit. But yeah, it's not the sturdiest full back line then, if that is the stat. I didn't realise they'd actually conceded so many goals. I just heard victory and didn't really look too much into it apart from that. And obviously against Kilcoo, even with 14, still looked quite threatening, and I thought we're going to win it right up until the death, obviously, as well. I think a lot of people did. So, and for an Enda McGinley team as well, for a man who came from such a strong defensive setup back in his day, it's maybe a little bit frustrating for him as well. But yeah, you might have actually got onto some. There were 8 goals, is that what you said, conceded?
8 goals, yeah. But to be fair, 6-0 were before the Tyrone Championship final. 7 of them were the Tyrone Championship. They've only conceded 1 in Ulster, and that was to Clonairon. Yeah.
Still though, if you're Crokes, you're probably trying to get the videos of those Tyrone games to see where the weak points are. And maybe, some teams like St. Lomas this year, and I'll go back to them again, they were conceding goals for fun this year and yet still won all 5 games in second gear. So maybe it's a case of, don't want to show your hand too much in the county championship, and maybe the 1 conceded since then is maybe a true reflection of where they are defensively. But yeah, certainly Crokes will be looking for some videotapes to see where they might be able to get at them. But I don't know if the Crokes forwards, goal scoring wise, would be as strong. Maybe going for goal, they'd be good point scorers. Obviously, Micheál Burns, as I said, and Brosnan, sort of well recognised names. But yeah, I think now that you say it, as 1 goal conceded since Tyrone, it's probably more a reflection maybe of where they are.
To be fair to Tony Brosnan, he has scored 4 goals and 39 points. Across Kerry and Munster Championship, which is really good. But to be fair, the asterisk beside that, 3 goals out of the 4 were penalties. So
that says a lot.
It does, to be fair. They've only scored 1 goal in the Munster Championship across 3 games. That was against Castlehaven through Tony Brosnan, and that was a penalty.
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily score, but they don't necessarily concede goals either, like in the Munster Championship. Yeah, and since the Dingle game, since the St. Brendan's Board Kerry Championship semi-final, they've only conceded 1 goal from play, and that was at the end against Lockmore Castleknock when the game was gone. So, there is an argument that there is a kind of a sturdy defence there for Dr. Crokes, and that could be a recipe for a win on Sunday in a way.
Yeah, obviously, Fionn at fullback generally, or around the fullback line anyway, I think is quite sturdy, and then player who I don't know a lot about, but seems to be doing all right, Mikey Lynch. Names we mentioned a couple of times. Errigal came through an extra game, didn't they? Have to come through preliminary as well in Ulster, so they've had a longer road as well, which some teams obviously like having the extra game, some teams hate having it. I think didn't they beat? Who's the Donegal champions? Was it Kilcar? St. Eunice, yeah, they beat them I think in preliminary. And then had to go past champions of Armagh, Tyrone, whoever else did, they Antrim as well, yeah. So some managers like the extra game. Some managers would rather have had the rest. And I don't know, will that have an impact as well? Probably not, because of the fact that the gap is big enough now until this weekend. But that Crokes defence, yeah, it maybe reads a little bit better than Errigal's one. If you were like a GA person who hadn't seen either of them play, and you saw Fionn Fitzgerald there, you might have a little bit more belief in that back line. And what's Gavin White's in there as well, of course. So yeah,
Charlie
it probably
Keating's
reads
very good.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, Charlie Keating as well. It probably reads a little bit better on paper. And that said, it probably is the more interesting of the two games, I think. Obviously, everyone, Coolera has a big story and all that, blah, blah, blah. But in terms of battle of Gaelic football, this is the game I'd be more interested in. I don't know, have Errigal maybe got more in the middle. Joe Goose is just very, very good. And I know nothing about that Michael Potts guy they have her in the middle for Crokes. Mark O'Shea I've heard plenty of times, but Joe Goose has just been very influential along with McDonald, and obviously can chip in with a goal or two as well, and just maybe that bit more county experience as well will help. So yeah, there's matchups everywhere. It's, as I said it, and you said it as well, it's far more interesting game, I think, than the other one. Now it could be proven wrong, obviously, but I think it's a more interesting matchup, this one.
And we talked about Coolera having an over-reliance as an underdog on Niall Murphy in one particular player. Dr. Crokes for an underdog, like course, obviously, there's Tony Brosnan and Micheál Burns. Tony Brosnan scored 4 goals, 39 points. Micheál Burns has scored 25 points, which is an incredible tally from them. But even their scores after that had some decent tally. Brian Looney scored 1-5. David Shaw scored 110, who's their marauding full forward who will catch balls go into the square. There's no doubt about that. And an interesting one, actually, nearing 40 years of age, Ciaran O'Leary. He scored 1 goal and 7 points off the bench. He could be an asset. He really could be.
Could be, yeah. And they have the hurler as well, Tommy Doyle, isn't there? Tom Doyle.
Yeah,
hurler as well, yeah. Chipping in. So, yeah, 1-7 at nearly 40 off the bench. It's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you want a bit of an impact, if things are in the melting pot and you want to throw someone on, like, absolutely ideal. Crokes a bit more maybe of a second half team as well. So maybe if they are, I think they were only 4-3 or 4-2 up in the last game, was it, against Castleiney before they went flying, yeah. So if it is a bit of a defensive kind of cagey game, it mightn't be the worst thing for them going into the second half to be only a little bit behind or a little bit ahead. Mightn't be the worst thing. They mightn't want the fast, free-flowing football, which I don't think it's going to happen anyway, to be honest, even with the Canavans and Peter Hart and all that. I think it'll be a cagey enough game, but it'll probably open up a little bit and become a decent game of football. So I can't believe, what did you say, 1-7 off the bench? Is that what he has?
1-7 off the bench across Kerry and the Munster Championship. In fairness, I didn't include Kerry Club Championship, so you might have more.
Yeah, well, like, Jesus, anything off a bench, like, is useful if you can rely on somebody. So it'll be quite useful to have as a weapon off the bench. I don't know, or I don't seem to hear a whole lot about. There's a McMahon fella.
Keelan McMahon, yeah.
Haven't heard a whole lot about him. Like, you kind of want to be hearing about more than just, Brosnan and Burns in the forwards, and Tom Doyle as well, the hurler. But yeah, they probably need a bit more of an array of scorers to get past Errigal if they are going to get past them. You've got to get past 3, 4, 5 Canavans. So many of them are on the 3 of them anyway, and Peter Hart as well. So you're gonna have your work cut out. That's right. I still think though that it'll be a good game of football. Hopefully, anyway.
Hopefully, will be. But who do you think will come out on top? Do you think it'll be the Tyrone men or the Kerry men?
I think Errigal might nip it. I don't know, is it just the Canavan factor, or haven't seen Joe Goose play a bit, or Peter Hart, or the fact that I like Ben McDonald around the middle as well. I don't know. I just think that they're just so dogged, and Ulster football just won't die and go away. If they're losing, they'll still fight to the end. And Armagh winning the All-Ireland obviously gives a boost to any team up the north who, this is possible for us now as well. We can bring this brand of football all the way to a final. Crokes, though, obviously historically probably a little bit better, but I don't think this Crokes team matches up to the iconic ones of the past. I don't think it's in the same league at all, really. And no disrespect to Munster football, but it's probably not on the same sort of standard at the moment. It could be obviously better, but I don't think it's at the same standard when, Rathgormack from Waterford you're only beating them 9-8. It maybe doesn't say a whole lot about the effort you put in, and Rathgormack probably a full tilt on the day trying to get past them. So I think Errigal will win by 3-4, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, I'd probably go for Errigal as well. And worth noting as well, I forgot to mention them with all the talking about the defence and scoring goals and things like that. But the Cannibal brothers have scored 55 points between them across Tyrone and Ulster Championships, which is incredible in its own right for Errigal Ciaran. And yeah, I'm going to go for Errigal to win that game in the All-Ireland semi-final. So we're both predicting Errigal Ciaran and Cuala All-Ireland senior final. Just before we end the podcast, just to mention as well, the intermediate finals at the week, or semi-finals at the weekend, will be Austin Stacks from Kerry against Ballinderry should I say, from Derry, and Crossmalina D Rovers from Mayo against Cara from Kildare. Looking at the outside there, Austin Stacks shouldn't be an intermediate team. They're a senior team. Simple as that. Ballinderry have Garth McKinless in their team, if I'm not mistaken. So very good side there. Crossmalina have Conor Loftus and Jordan Flynn in their team, so they probably should get over Cara there. And then in the junior semi-final, well, there's one junior semi-final this weekend, though. Capararua from Galway against Balnagar from Offaly. And then in the quarterfinal of the All-Ireland, it's Tara from London against Dave Padraig from Donegal. The winners of that play Kilmurray from Cork next week. So that is the wrap-up of all the club championship that is happening over the week. There's no LGFA, no Camogie hurling is later on the next few weeks. So we're only focused on football. But just to get your thoughts there on those games, Jason, what are you expecting for the intermediate and junior games?
Yeah, I would expect the Austin Stacks one is such an anomaly. Like, really, it's kind of wrong in many ways that they're there. But look, that's what it is. They should come through. Ballinderry having Gareth McKinless. I know Gareth's brother Dan very well. He owns a company called Outfield Online, a GA sports company as well. So they'd be hard beat at the same time. But you'd expect Crossmalina to come through that one, I would say. And then I love the fact that Rancararua are in are challenging for honours again. I played with them for all of 8 days when I was down in the Gaeltacht years and years ago. And yeah, I've a soft spot for Cararoo as well. Cara from Kildare are a team who could be interesting. They beat somebody who I was at, and I can't remember who. I think they beat Westmeath team along the way somewhere, but they are surprisingly nifty. I know Kildare football has kind of gone a bit backwards, but no, they're a very decent team as well. But I'd expect in all those games, I think there's a clear favourite in them all. I think you will be expecting the favourite to come through in them all. I'd love to see Tara get a win. Obviously, a big soft spot for the international GA teams, but they'll be well up against it. I would say the London teams have had a few tricky outings in ladies football, camogie, Everton this year. It'd be nice for them to get a bit further. One of the teams to get a bit further because a lot of them suffered. The ladies were beaten by Paris in Europe as well and in the junior championship. So it'd be nice for one of them to get through. But I think the favourites will win pretty much all those games. I would say there's a clear favourite. Austin Stacksman there still bothers me. It really does. Anyway, it's for another day, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're the 9th ranked team in Kerry after winning the intermediate championship because there's 8 clubs in Kerry in senior level. Yeah. But good news for all fans that don't like the Kerry system. The club championship teams is coming up in the next 2 seasons, so it's going up to 9 next season, as far as I know. It'll be going up to 10, then 11, then eventually 12. So
Right.
it's about time it happened. It is about time it happened. So so hopefully that will put the end of senior teams in the intermediate championship, if you know what I mean. But look, that is a wrap on the podcast. Thanks to Jason for coming on today. Thanks to Capture Legs for sponsoring today's show. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next week or next time the podcast is on, we'll see you all then. Take care and Happy New Year to everyone and all.